Okay, ladies, welcome to our very first meeting about the Feminfinity podcast, which focuses on female empowerment. To start off with, we're going to have to talk about the research of this podcast. So, going in the topic of female empowerment, what is your favourite genre of music that you listen to?
Rock? I don't know. Probably rock. Pop rock. Pop.
Babe?
Like ballad country, I guess. Country's decent. I quite like country.
I just like Dolly Parton. She's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what will be your target audience for your desired genre then?
I have no idea.
Do you mean as in, do you have a target audience?
Do you have a target audience
as in, like,
for the desired genre that you're into?
the kind of people that you're trying to reach just in your lives? And
Oh, the kind of people we're trying to reach is like people who do listen to similar music taste to us and enjoy sometimes changing. Like, sorry, I'm swinging my legs about to kick you.
No,
Like, kind of, what was I going to say? What do we like? What was I going to say? It's left my head. Just people who like rock,
Similar
who
to
are a
us.
similar age to us. So, say, like, ranging from 16 to 25.
Yeah.
People who are maybe in the same profession.
Yeah, okay, so in the music podcast, what will be your... I was thinking of doing pop music with R&B and hip-hop influences, so what do you think to that? I was thinking about doing some jingles to the podcast, like stings, bed music, and the main ident for this podcast.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Oh, have we entered the next section now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Podcast. Okay, fine. So that kind of R&B feel.
Yeah, with hip-hop influences and pop music, because you know you girls like pop music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's the kind of common meeting point, is that like you're into your R&B and pop, and you know, like pop got cited as well as like something that they're generally into. So
Yeah,
there's a kind of crossover there.
yeah.
Is anyone's music in this room going to be played on the podcast, or is it going to
Yeah.
be kind of established pop stars?
Anyone is going to play those type of music in the podcast.
So are you inviting anyone to perform on the podcast, or is that not the kind of podcast that it is?
I will invite anyone on the podcast. I'm down for all of that.
To perform, I mean.
Yeah, perform.
Right. Okay. So it's like that's a possibility.
Yeah,
Something
it
to
is.
follow up on, like something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's something that could happen. What about like kind of musical heroes, like female musical heroes? You said
Okay, so
Dolly
what-
Parton already.
What are your inspirations and musical heroes?
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston.
Whitney
Yeah,
Houston.
Dolly Parton.
Mariah Carey.
Celine Dion.
Beyonce.
Yes.
Whoa,
Yeah, Beyonce. I was going on
can't type that fast.
that.
RuPaul.
That's kind of in the middle, isn't it? I can't believe it's 61.
Mate, let's go back. Dolly Parton, Whitney Houston.
Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
Mariah Carey.
You said Beyonce.
Beyonce,
yeah.
Beyonce as well. Beyonce.
I feel really bad spelling all these names so badly. Is there anyone else? Dolly Parton, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, Beyonce.
I can't think of anyone. Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift,
Oh.
nice.
Definitely love Taylor Swift.
All singers.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dolly Parton plays the guitar as well, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Does she? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton also directs music. The movies.
Really?
That's movie director. She creates and she's got Dolly's Christmas and she's got one about how this rich woman has 2 sons, one of them's gay, and it's a secret from everyone. And then they find out, and then she's fine about it, and they sing Dolly Parton.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Well, Dolly Parton,
Real simple,
It's
happy
great.
ending there.
Yeah.
well, Dolly Parton just released a soundtrack album based on the novel Run Rose Run with James Patterson.
Oh,
Imagine
Force
if you
nature
just
that
didn't
one.
sing Dolly Parton at the end. Imagine if you just bust it out to know.
I've never seen the book and I've never listened to the album that came with it.
I'm gonna add Bjork and
Shakira.
Yeah, that had to
Shakira.
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, that's a good one.
Oh my gosh.
Icon.
Kate Tempest. Connor. No, not anymore.
Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys.
Alexandra Burke. Even though she was an industry plant for X Factor, she got paid 3 years in advance to go on an X Factor, and they'd rig the system so she'd win.
Really?
Yeah. It was tied into the.
That's not too surprised. I'm surprised she got paid 3 years in advance, but I'm not surprised it's rigged.
Yeah, they put her on the record label straight away for 3 years, but
Straight on Cypher.
and
That's
then
mad.
they produced her song for several years, and then marketed her well. So when she got on X Factor, she would definitely win.
Yeah.
That's no good. Kate Bush. Any Kate Bush fans?
Oh,
Yeah, I do
yes.
like
Yeah. Oh, okay. The ring comes
I
alive.
love Kate Bush.
Nice.
Gorgeous woman. Stevie Nicks.
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah. Oh, we got a list here.
Joan Jett.
It's just carrying on. I think you need to.
Any more questions? It's just Rihanna Latin.
Do you wanna? Is there
Every
still more
woman
to
ever.
discuss on music for the podcast? Or you can
Okay.
move on?
Cardi B.
Oh my
Okay,
god, Nicki
so-
Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
Oh my god.
There's still more to discuss on your musical heroes. You have like a lot of them, haven't you?
Lizzo. She's made a line for plus size women for shapewear, specifically for plus size women, and it goes from biggest size to the smallest size.
Mm.
Like that's considered like the big one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Nice.
factory printed in the sense, and it's really nice.
Very very cool.
Okay, so moving on from the podcast music content, we need to move on to script writing. So, how are you going to make a draft of that script for the main episode of Feminfinity?
Well, what I thought for this is that you've written
Yes,
questions.
I have been writing down some questions on the Google Sites page on the first page of my developmental podcast.
So it might just be a case of if we read the questions out to them, they don't need to answer the questions now, obviously, but then they'll have an idea about what kind of things you're going to ask them.
Yeah,
Should we do that?
so
Do you want to read them out or shall I?
I'll read them. So, what does empowerment mean to you or for?
Do you want us to take it in turns, or do you want us to answer?
I think the answer is, I think the
Leave it
point
for-
isn't to answer now, it's just to give you an
Oh,
idea.
okay.
Across
Yeah.
the idea.
This will give these questions will give you an idea of what to answer.
Yeah, the kind of things that you'll be talking about basically on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like Deanna's the host, sort of thing.
Mhm.
So do you want to just keep reading them?
Okay, so what does empowerment mean to you? How do you break the barriers to become a better woman? What are your experiences of being a female musician? What are your goals for making your type of music, solo or in a band? Who or what inspires you?
That could take up the whole podcast, that one.
What is your favourite music genre in terms of female-centered music? If you want to make your music that's based on female empowerment or other topics, will you give it your best shot? How can you show your positive feelings when you start listening to music that featured female artists in the industry?
How can you show your positive feelings? Like, how do you express your positive feelings?
Yeah.
How do you communicate them?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Scream.
Screaming.
Nice.
What are you happy about?
Would you open up to your lifestyle and let it reflect your female-themed playlist as a way to build your independence and or confidence? And finally, what advice would you give to the women who want to be in the music industry?
So I guess what we could say is, like, do you have any comments on those questions? Any thoughts? Or
I think they're good questions. I think they're really good questions.
Very well thought out. I like the end one.
A bit
Structure.
detailed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
bro? Okay.
I'm glad you like them. Now, moving along, we have the multimedia and lighting.
this might be something that they'd be less involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we could ask them about that exactly. What do you think?
Because this is your podcast. This is
Yeah.
yours. We shouldn't be in control of that because this is your podcast.
No. I was thinking more of a lighting for the Feminfinity podcast. Like, for instance, I could have those stage lights in hot pink, or I could use those. I could set up Feminfinity at a recording studio or somewhere in NTU, i.e. Flight FM radio station.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I guess one question that comes to mind for you guys is there anything you don't want? Like, is there any way you kind of don't want to be represented, or nothing you want to be comfortable with, or are you kind of fine with anything?
There's nothing I'd be
I don't really know
uncomfortable with.
nothing springs to mind exactly, so you're just happy for Deanna to do the creative design work for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 She's just
100% me.
Okay. Marketing.
Now, in the marketing side of things, what is your social media network, and have you got your social media accounts or brands?
I use Instagram a lot.
Right,
I
so
use Instagram.
I use Instagram. I use TikTok. And TikTok.
Yeah, I use TikTok and Instagram only.
Okay, so half and half. You girls are using Instagram and TikTok. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those two. And would you be willing to kind of promote the podcast if you're appearing on it? Is it going to
Yeah.
it's kind of a nice symbiotic thing where you're
Yeah,
promoting yourself and also Deanna's podcast as well?
Yeah. I promote my podcast on all platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, on DJ DD Music. So yeah.
Nice, that will benefit everyone then. Any other business?
You got any other business you would like to think about the Feminfinity podcast, or would that be it?
That's it for us.
That's it. Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah, no other kind of thoughts about it or questions or anything like that. Okay.
Alright, so the last thing I need to talk about is the setting for the targets. So, on the next meeting, Daniel is going to lay down some of the targets that you want to cover for the next meeting. So, what do you girls think? What are your targets for the next meeting coming up soon?
What about pinning down a time and a date to actually record the podcast?
Yeah.
Because you're not quite there yet.
Okay.
are you?
So,
You're not quite able to kind of like put a date in the diary. and
alright,
say,
so we need to put in a time and date for this. Time and date for the recording process of this podcast.
I've got a question about the podcast actually.
Yeah.
When you interview us, are you interviewing us all individually, or is the four in now? So like, will you have
I'd
me and
like
Sinead because we're a duo,
I'd
or
like the four.
and then Faith and then Lowry, or is it going to be all four of us together?
I like the four because then it's open to
Bounce off each other.
yeah. we can
I
bounce
quite
off
like
each other.
the four of them.
Yeah, so it's not so hollow. It's like fun.
Yeah, and also that would be better for time
Yeah.
constraints as well.
Exactly,
yes.
because it'd be long. Group decision is to interview everyone as a four.
Why not all of you?
Hmm?
Why not all of you? Heck, we need
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
True. Knees are. What's wrong with me? I'm just
That's-
tired.
Don't be silly. What's wrong with you?
Do what?
Have miles on.
And I suppose,
Have you got another target that you want to lay down?
well, there was one thing earlier which was a bit unclear, which is
Yeah.
about the music that's going to be played.
Yeah.
Whether it's actually going to be the music that you guys produce, or whether it's going to be your recommendations, or whether actually just Deanna chooses the music.
Yeah.
That's just kind of a decision that hasn't been made yet by the sounds
Yeah.
of things. So that's something to target for next time, is just to decide.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or comments on that?
I think the music you could play, like, do you mean like background music and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or like it, obviously because it's your podcast, it's completely up to you.
Yeah.
But taking other people's recommendations of songs could be a fairly decent idea.
Mm.
Be like a Dolly Parton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't spell consensus. Okay. Anything else, Deanna, you want to talk about?
Okay, so are there any other targets that you want to lay down, or is that it?
For me, I feel that's it.
Is there, like, what about in terms of pinning down a date and time for the recording podcast?
Mm.
Is it something that's going to happen in lesson time, do you think, or outside of lesson time?
What do you think? Will it be in lesson time, or will it be outside of it?
I think lesson time.
I think in lesson time would be better for everyone. Cause some
Okay, so
I just
we
think
all-
So
that
it's
bearing in
it's
mind though
synced
that you'll have your own podcast
Yeah.
that you're working on, so there'll be a time.
Yeah.
understood.
But I think this is it's the most time to get synced up. Like I don't have a day for it really.
So we've all decided on lesson time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that we'll definitely all be available. Everyone will definitely.
Yeah.
You guys
Yes.
will definitely be
Yeah.
free. Cool. Is that maybe all the questions you have for these guys?
Is that all the questions that you? Is that all the questions you want to give me?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, thanks a lot for
That's cool.
thanks a lot for the help. Yeah.
Thank you, girls, for contributing to the podcast. It's been a pleasure meeting you and having you here.
Thank you.
And it's going to be really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Nice one. Okay, yeah, you guys are free to go. We're going to continue the meeting, talk about lighting
Okay.
and things like that, just a few technical things.
Yeah.
We can keep working.
Yeah.
with it,
Yeah.
Thank you.